We are currently experiencing autumn with more or less decent weather. We are located at our main station in Kyiv on Bereisteyskaya Street, number 4, Bereisteyskaya. And today's video will be a historical one for me. Important, difficult, and emotional. It is about the purchase. A super duper project for YouTube, and at the same time, my personal car. Before we move on to the car that we looked at and chose, I will show what is being done here. Some pictures can be displayed. We attached this thing. It was part of the plan 3 years ago, but however, it is only now that we have achieved it. And this is the planned room. Now we will finish the facade, and it will become the client room. We also painted the fence a little here. In short, nothing particularly interesting. There is also a banner on that gate. At the beginning of spring, as always, the car buying season starts, and many clients were buying cars, and our car selection service was finding cars in the spring. In other words, there are requests. The car market is changing. I took a look myself to see what is available and what can be bought instead of the second generation model, because that second generation car is kind of a cool, versatile vehicle and it is affordable with basically no real equivalents at that price. I believe there really are none. I mean, let me explain. I believe the second generation model is such a versatile, fast, and cool car that the only better one for me would be something like an M2 with an all-wheel drive body. But they do not exist, only rear-wheel drive versions. And maybe some M3 or M4 in the G80 to G82 body styles. All-wheel drive. That is where the rear-wheel drive is disabled, because rear-wheel drive with high power is generally useless. It is a struggle to control rear-wheel drive with more than 400 horsepower. You need to have good tires, good grip. If it starts raining just a little, or if it gets a bit cold, that is it. You are out of luck. You are left behind somewhere, the car is parked somewhere, or driving around in some random place. Basically, it is a BMW with God knows what kind of drivetrain. I do not like that. I am someone who loves to drive fast at every opportunity and on any stretch of road, you could say. I accelerate on any opening in the road. There was about 100 meters of empty space, so I step on the gas and shift gears. With the M models, it does not really work that way. M3 and M4 are rear-wheel drive. In terms of power, at stage 2, they have similar power, around 520 horsepower, and they drive about the same. Well, although in the previous video the car had 560 horsepower, and it was faster because it was rear-wheel drive is kind of sad, it is disappointing. That's why the equivalents can only be all-wheel drive. M3, M4, M5, and the F90 are all-wheel drive. But it kind of doesn't fit with my philosophy. Oh, this is kind of my view of the car so far. I haven't driven it yet, so maybe it handles great. It's not as big, not such a huge barge. I'm not really a big fan of the big M5 anyway. But for you, we're on the project. I'll show you now what we were playing, basically. For you, kind of for cheap. We even checked one car in Odessa. I'll show the photos now. It was the cheapest on the market. It was sitting on a lot, but we didn't even get to the compression check. Just looked at the exterior, saw a hard hit. Basically, it's cheap. What can you expect if you're going for the cheap option? Black, aggressive, with sound. I mean, yeah, the sound is pretty cool, of course. Then, we got around to checking auctions from the US. We have imports from the US, but during wartime, it's pretty much not working. Before the war, it was working slowly. So we thought, damn, let's check the US, maybe we'll find something there. Overall, it would be cheaper. Then there was one red one. We even tried to go for it, or maybe we didn't. I mean, we could have placed a bid. $30, like 58. I think it was even cheaper, maybe 25 hours left. Then there was a white one of 10, a white M5. We're inserting some clips, and then I thought, damn, let's see what's up with the M4. Maybe there's an all-wheel drive one, because I don't really like the M3 sedans. An all-wheel drive M4 is a logical step up from the 2 Series on stage 2. It can have close to 700 horsepower. That's already the kind of performance the 2 Series has on ethanol, and as you understand, I want performance on gasoline. Ethanol doesn't interest me. It's just a hack, a quick fix. I want something reliable and comfortable. An infrastructure to have a barrel and fill up from it every day, so I can race and enjoy the fuel, like E30 or E50. That's what I need. Gasoline and all-wheel drive. Drive out, push hard, refuel at the pump, and push hard again. No headaches. At most methanol, there were some options I liked. I was checking out a few gray 850s on Autoria. There was even a white one. A friend of mine checked it out in Lviv and made a report. Now we're sending some photos with it. I saw somewhere that it's not cheap, around $180,000. So yeah, basically it was already a hefty price. I wasn't really ready to pay that much, especially for an 8 Series that wouldn't be as fast as I wanted. That's why it's heavy, but still I wanted the interior and maybe to try a high level, like a top tier 8 Series. Kind of like the M5, but with a rich trim and cool, unique design. There was a time when no one wanted our 8s, and I wanted to get one cheap just to drive and see what it's like. But yeah, buying an 8 Series cheaply didn't work out. So that's how it went. Then the idea came to check out the 4s. So I wanted to find out how much they actually cost. Are they really as expensive as they seem? Because the all-wheel drive 4s on Autoraya were always priced around a bit over 100,000. One green was at 115, another at 125. They were all official, around 5,000 kilometers. Basically brand new. Clean, no accidents, no repairs, that's it. There were both all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive versions of the F90. Especially on manual, those were going for just over 80. I compared prices a bit using the M5 and F90 as a reference. If you buy it for around 30,000, it ends up costing about 58,000. And we figured, damn, what's the price for the M4? So we started checking it out. We saw prices around 40, 50, 55, and then we thought, damn, let's do the math. Calculated it, and it seemed pretty good if we took, for 40,000, depending on the damage, it goes for around 70, 80, max 90. Even if the engine is dead, in the end, when we started calculating, the cars turned out cheaper than the Ukrainian market prices and roughly matched the prices of the 850. I thought, damn, alright, let's stop looking for something just for YouTube and then the 850 or M5. For YouTube, you really need the M5 F90, like the most popular, desirable car, and that could be the video title. The car of your dreams, bought the car of your dreams. That's what most people call a dream car, but something like that. Not really my thing, just a big bulky M5. I'd prefer something smaller, ideally that 2 Series. Only in the M Series and with all-wheel drive. Like my 2 Series, newer and more powerful, exactly that. And small. They're all getting bigger. The 2 Series is growing, and the 4 Series have become really big. Watching the 4s on the auction felt like our attempts and efforts to play. There were some really cool light greenish, almost unpainted 4s. Buying one of those would be awesome. Because little damage, and the color was stunning, all-wheel drive, automatic, and basically everything you want. You could say it's a dream car. That one would definitely be appreciated by everyone, for the color, the features, and everything. I think we priced it around 40 or 42,000. It was kind of scary when we saw that. It comes out to almost 80,000 if you add 42,000 for the purchase. I kept an eye on the last video. It was pretty nerve-wracking, wondering how much you'd have to pay if you won. Throwing bids was crazy, but when the price went above our max, I was relieved. Phew, it's not our car, no need to spend any money. It was like when we bought the red 2 Series with our last cash, but now it's a whole different situation buying an M4. For a lot of money. They're like, well, it's good that, not exactly the last cash, but close, considering the war now. The 4 Series sold for over 50,000. So it ended up around 95 to 100,000, but it's definitely worth it. Low mileage, minor damage, cool factory color, all good. Then there was a black one. Front end messed up, some hit, so we immediately estimated around 10,000 for repairs. and it was kind of dull. I didn't really like it. I'm not a fan of black cars, and with a black interior too, it just felt gloomy, especially for such an expensive car. Like, why? Why black? It's just depressing. All black everywhere. Look, the parking lot is mechanical. Right now, there are black cars there. Some sketchy guys, mostly BMWs, a few black ones. And there was one red car. You could spot it right away. The difference was clear. They skipped testing the M3 since there aren't that many M4s around. It was listed on Copart auctions. We checked the M3, all-wheel drive, of course black and dull, 4-door. Take a look. It sold for around 46, but by the way, that was also all-wheel drive. We didn't even consider rear-wheel drive at all. Just to evaluate, overall it seemed like M3s were cheaper than M4s. The lots were generally going for less. I found an interesting one. The funny thing about the white one was that it was listed as manual. We checked the photos carefully and saw it wasn't manual. But after checking the VIN code carefully, we saw it was all-wheel drive, not manual. Because buying a rear-wheel drive manual or rear-wheel drive automatic would have been a disaster since it's a whole different car plus rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. Just, damn. You know the M4 can switch off all-wheel drive with just one button and become rear-wheel drive. And that's why I don't really see the point in it. At the power level I want, the M4 is what you can build to 1,000 horsepower, at least 900 plus on ethanol. Yeah, the B58 engine allows that. You can push it to 1,000 horsepower on that block. Obviously, you'll have to start modifying, changing pistons, connecting rods. And this white one, because it was listed as a manual white car, it gave us a chance. Fewer people would find it, so there'd be less competition in the bidding. Yeah, but it had its quirks. Like oil under the car, which meant the oil cooler was leaking. Usually, when the oil cooler is damaged and oil leaks out, the engine seizes, the camshaft gets stuck. Typically, the camshaft is the first to go. In previous M cars, the camshaft would seize in the cylinder head. We had 2 clients, one on an M3, we took it apart. On YouTube, the manual white one had a seized camshaft when it arrived, and he ended up swapping the engine for a used one. By the way, that engine we've been rebuilding for years now. The blue M4, you know, that blue M4. When it came to us, it also had a seized camshaft. The white car was really appealing. First of all, because of the color. At least it wasn't black or gray. Gloomy, but at least not black, and definitely not green, unless it was a bright or light green, like a dark lime or something. Something lively, just right for our brand, and you can always fix the color with a wrap. But the interior, that's something you really can't just, fix that. It's a cool orange interior, really stands out on the G30. I like it a lot. We had a G30 for review, a 530 in Lviv. It had a yellow interior, which I really liked, and this one is similar. Thought it was cool. So you can wrap the white one's exterior, but the interior is already awesome. And the damage was barely even damage, and it's hard to even call it that because the front end, yeah, it was kind of twisted. Looked a bit messed up for sure. But no hit in the rear, nothing damaged. The front just looked off, and even the headlights were intact. Everything seems to be clear with no problems. The only problem was the oil dripping from the bottom. Could be a seized engine, and that's like $14,000 for a used one from a salvage yard. But if you rebuild it, I thought, well, okay, maybe if it turns out to be, if it's seized, we'll dig into it, maybe go straight to stage 4, drop in some forged parts or something, basically do a full build and aim for 1,000 horsepower right away. But of course, that would be boring. I'm a fan of slowly, smoothly, evenly. The twisted look turned out to be misaligned headlights, a crooked hood, and bumper. There were suspicions that someone had already crashed it and maybe started disassembling it. Maybe it sounds dumb, but when you look under the hood, it seems fine and you think, well, okay, even if it took a hard hit, we'll straighten the frame rail or whatever else. It shouldn't be. No real complications, it's more of a matter of personal taste. And by the photos, you wouldn't even say the front end was hit, by the way. The safety systems were intact, in general. cool lot, basically. We were calculating something on 45 or 44 to 50, even 43, if we calculated it out. It turned out, roughly, you could just drop the engine in without really messing with it. If it's really bad there, then the motor is getting 70 or 80 plus 15. That came to 95, so it's like this. I mean, time. If anything, I think it's okay. We'll figure it out, earn some money, sort it all out, and so on. Plus, since it's not a breakdown, we'll do tuning, and we're filming the project on YouTube. It's not a breakdown like with the F10 where the engine died, a tow truck series, then another tow truck. It's like basically what we show is all great, damn, nothing's wrong, everything's perfect, no errors or anything. Like we're doing everything amazingly, all factory new, original, and so on. Like it's really that way for us. Basically, like in real life, you could say maybe it's because it had a manual transmission. Not many people messed with it, and in the end it came out cheaper than we expected. It went for, I think, 40 and a half. We have a video, we'll show it now, after the purchase. We had to pay something like 43,700 in auction fees. That's over 43,000. The only option there is Swift transfer, which doesn't work in Ukraine during the war. The issue was solved through crypto. We should have transferred via crypto, then through crypto there, basically. In the end, I paid over several days on Copart, and there are some fines if you pay late, so payment speed is also important. And there, like what's even more important, well, then you have to wait about 2 months until it arrives in Klaipėda, because now it doesn't go to Odessa due to the war, it goes through. Klaipėda is in Lithuania, I think, so from there through Poland, Germany, Lithuania, basically when they picked up the car from the auction, they put it on the lot at our supplier in America and took better photos there. Let's check them out now. So they bought the car on June 15th, managed to pay the fees and a small penalty for picking it up from the auction and the payments. It took about 2 months, actually quite fast. That was to Klaipėda, which is faster than before to Odessa. But then what happened? These problems with those containers full of crap, basically it ended up just sitting there in Klaipėda getting damaged, and while it was on its way to Lviv, customs issues happened. Well, basically a month stuck in Klaipėda, and then it took another month to get here. So she was in Kiev on September 20th. That's 3 months plus 5 days. That is. Considering that before the war they used to take about half a year, 3 months and 5 days is actually quite fast. By the way, considering that the 540 also arrived quickly, but we will make a separate video about it. 540 from the USA. If anyone needs cars from the USA, feel free to reach out. Preferably they should be around $20,000 or more. Anything above that is more or less worthwhile. And already, as you can see, that above $50,000 it's really very profitable, or around $100,000 that's also very profitable. I'm in the elevator, almost 6 a.m. There was a drone attack last night. I didn't sleep much, it's dark now. This is the only lit spot for hundreds of meters. Went up, we're going. To the meeting. Basically to our third branch.
On Petrovka.
Meeting the car carrier, it's already there.
A nerve-wracking moment. So, what are we driving? Big brother? Or younger brother? Unclear. By age, kind of the older one, but by power, by young.
On the left we have Tigna.
have a town, Fozzie. Our third branch. Somewhere our cargo is.
Hello. Good afternoon. Oh, I saw you. Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. No. No one else to count on.
His flywheel even fell off. What's there to fix? It seemed like you could just bolt it back on.
The lever and steering rod hold the wheel in place so it doesn't turn further, and the strut supports it from above, so it doesn't go any further.
Looks like that's how it is here. The car's fender here is already somewhat damaged, and it is damaged.
That's right.
Exhaust.
The most interesting thing is what's going on with the engine there. But that depends on the next series. The next series. There's gonna be a YouTube vid.
The first episode shows how it arrived. The second episode is about how we fix it. In Ukraine, there are no spare parts. It seemed there that the battery terminal was disconnected. From the photos, I can see that it's orange. It needs to be lowered so that even more sunlight comes through and you can sit down because it will be waiting. All sorts of spare parts. That's it. Our car carrier is ready. Bye. Read my cars. We filmed leaving on the car carrier. Well, now we're already on the premises.
Here we have. By the way, there's a paint shop here.
Paint shop. This is our.
A little triangle. Buildings like these are all run down. Another triangle. That's almost gone.
Now, the place was prepared by Rostislav. Is our main one on Petrovka.
Let's see. There should still be some risers.
The most interesting thing is that we don't know why it's leaking with the motor. It sucks because if we wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month for parts, we won't know what's wrong with the oil. We'll put it on the road, we'll start it there, and then we'll get the spare part again for a month from Germany. It's original.
Opening the hood will be.
Chips. Whoa. What's so interesting about this? Did it go off or what the fuck?
That's what this was. In the photos, it looks like it's intact everywhere.
Well, you can see that I lifted and lowered it, but the wheel didn't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was.
And you didn't turn the steering wheel anywhere while doing that? What's underneath, we'll find out in the next episode. I think I've already got a pretty good idea, but we'll see when we start fixing it. So yeah, we'll find out then. So, how long did it take us? About 6? All this action took 6:55 per hour. Not bad. You can head home with a clear conscience considering the visible absence of the entire disc.
A wrecked hub.
The brake disc. Let's just say that the control arms are intact and not bent. We'll check that out there. I have already looked at the part numbers. There's no hub, no disc here. In Ukraine, there's no wheel disc at all. Nothing. These are the 3 parts needed, and none of them are available. They're not available except for this one, but that can be soaked here. It's pretty tricky to put the rear end on the chassis. Front. Yeah, there's more. It most likely got torn out.
and the flange most likely got torn out. We'll need a dust cover. We'll have to try it out. I think everything will be fine there. More or less. What have we got here? Lever's ripped out. The knuckle is intact. Alright, the strut with the tab is intact. Tab. The shock absorber. So yeah, that's about it.
And then there's also... the tire itself is flat here. No. It's fine, it's not flat. The disc is fucked up.
I don't know if it can be done or not. You might have to buy 2 discs. Here's a disc. Messed up. A little bit. I thought it could be done easily. There's more or less.
There are a lot of scratches. There are obvious scratches on the doors.
Scuff mark.
Not clear who or what caused the scuffs. I noticed something here. The headlight is scratched. The headlight mounting here is fine. Judging by the gap from the metal, this headlight probably shifted upward due to an impact from the wheel. It got hit and pushed upward somehow. Like this. The plan here is to replace the headlights with laser ones. As you see here, there's a little detail is missing, that little eyelid trim piece. This is an LED headlight, not a laser one, and it's missing the eyelid trim. They're incomplete little droplets, so you could call it from idea to reality. Slowly but surely, just from concept to reality. Now you can almost touch reality. About that, I thought those who buy new cars or ones from the USA, or buy cars at all, they're roughly speaking, pay for customs clearance. So I just bought it at an auction and added quite a bit of customs fees. Well, relatively quite a bit. Here. That's about 500,000 hryvnias, roughly $14,000. $15,000. And that means if I hadn't bought the car, I wouldn't have paid that money. And where does it go? It goes into the budget. So basically, it's beneficial for the government when people buy a car for themselves. Abroad or even here on the local market, when someone buys a car, basically if they sell it, someone will pay this customs duty. They'll refund me the customs fee I paid, and in the end, there will be a chain of transactions. The money tied up in the customs fee will be freed up, and I'll be able to buy something else. If you're curious about what's next for this car, make sure to subscribe, leave comments, and share your guesses, like what might be going on under the hood, where the oil's coming from, and so on. What could be wrong with the engine, we'll find out in the next episode, I hope. So, write down your thoughts. I'm curious about your opinion. Maybe you've dealt with problems like this on similar cars. The M4 was only available with the 55 and the 535, so similar problems happen there too. When the oil leaks out, we'll see how.
I see the downside. That's a huge hurdle. You can't even greet it with the dashboard because you need to connect the battery. To connect it, you have to open the trunk. To open the trunk, you need to connect 12 volts under the hood, but
Right now, I don't have any jump starters or anything like that.
what do we have here?
Oh, pedals. Oh, wow.
It's already carbon fiber.
With these new square dashboards, I kind of like the old one. Maybe in time I'll get used to it. But I like it better than the big monitor like this. A problem with the windshield wiper has been detected.
Something weird. Something's wrong with the hood paint. It's all gonna have to go.
It's already lightened up. Oh, it's a facelift. Turns out the city really comes alive at 7.
Our service center opens at 10.
And 30. So we're starting to show up. I'm wondering when we're gonna get it done. Until we get the car. I wish she'd hit the road a bit faster. Before the frost, before the snow, before the cold. So, what do you think of our new project? Mind you, it's the most expensive in the history of our channel and our network of BMW service centers. And with the biggest intrigue, what's really going on there with the engine is super expensive, so I think you'll find it interesting. Subscribe, like, and leave comments. I've got big plans for this ride. We're going to do some upgrades. Since it's not quite fully equipped, we'll be adding more features and tuning it up. I'm also going to make my dream come true. a BMW with 1,000 horsepower. So sure, you can build a 1,000 horsepower BMW any way you want, but damn, a true 1,000 horsepower BMW is a whole different kind of challenge, especially since the latest from 58, the hope of all BMWs, the car can be said to combine 2 goals and content on the channel as this project is also my dream, to build a fast BMW with over 1,000 horsepower. By the way, as you might have noticed, this series was recorded about the latest fresh SPA. I hope all BMW fans. And a lot has already changed since then. For everyone who loves following our projects on YouTube, I recommend subscribing to our Instagram, right here. We post there much faster and more often, so if you can't wait, subscribe and keep up.